Okay. All right.
Yeah, it sounds like a phonetic spelling of Japanese. Hey, Myra, right there.
She can't, it's through my mics. Oh, the garbage, here, you can put it right there. Right there. I don't know if she can hear you because I got the mic right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to feature? Yeah, we'll pass it around.
So we have to have the, thank you.
And when
Hi. Can you see me or hear me? This is Ryan.
I can hear you and I can see your head, not your face.
How about
Okay, now
now?
I can see your face.
I'm not tall enough. Yeah, I'm just standing. Okay, gotcha. So we're having a few questions here from some of my colleagues. They're wondering about your middle name, whether you have like Japanese ancestry. This was the question.
Yes, yes. Takiguchi is written
They
in
got it.
Brazilian way, but it's Japanese. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Takiguchi.
Uh-huh. And so when I introduce you, can you remind, how do I say your last name again? I'm going to
We
introduce,
think
I'll say it right.
in Portuguese we'll say Ribeiro.
Hiberu.
Ribeiro.
I'm
Yeah.
Hiberu. Okay, got it. I'm going to mess that up. Sorry. And then
That's
how do you
okay.
say the people that you work with again? The
Chavante. Chavante.
Hiberu,
That's
Shavanchi.
okay. You can say the the way you
What?
want. Yeah.
Okay. How would we say that in English? It's not English.
Yeah. And in fact, Chavante is not even a word in their language. You know, close. You know, I'm really allergic now. I
Oh
don't even
no.
feel like opening my eyes, but I hope I will get better.
Yeah,
Yeah, they call themselves Awayuptabi, if that's better.
cool. Well, I hope you feel better in 5 or 10 minutes here. Or wait, it's 12:30
I
now.
hope too.
So actually we're starting now.
Okay, no, that's
I'm going
okay.
to move.
And perhaps I will be learning a little bit.
Good luck. You want to start?
So this is, geez, look, so that's it. We're in it. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Miku. I'm the director of the Serene Sustainability Lab. Welcome to our shared lab space and our sustainability seminar. It's kind of a special seminar today because we have a wonderful guest presenter and guest growing colleague that we've been able to build relationship with from Brazil. And we made this acquaintance through a prestigious program through the State Department called the Humphrey Fellowship Program. And so actually, Maida in our school, we were selected to host her as a scholar. And maybe some people online, because I know we're connected to the Access Center, we're live streaming to a sister center at Manoa. Anyway, those folks, hello. They might remember that last year we actually hosted somebody from Thailand. And so we were able to have them stay with us for a week and share all of their wonderful knowledge with our students. And so Maida was actually selected for this program this year, but due to some changes in funding and administration, she wasn't able to come here in person, but we built a wonderful relationship together and are really happy to still feature her this way and have you have a chance to meet her and for her to meet all of you. So I'm gonna let Ryan actually introduce Maida and her work. And again, very happy to have you all join us today.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming, both in person and online. I'm excited for Myra's presentation today. So Myra is a visiting scholar at UC Davis. She's actually based in California right now, through the Humphrey Fellowship Program. She Fulbright Professional Exchange. She's a biologist, a geographer, and she works with she just told me how to say this, and I've already forgot it. The Javon, she will explain to you the name of the indigenous group that she works with in Mato Grosso in the southern part of Brazil. Yep, and she works at the National Foundation of Indigenous Peoples in Brazil for the government there. So thank you so much for coming. We're really excited for your presentation today. And so I guess I'll just let you begin. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Are you listening to me? Do I need to speak louder?
That's perfect. We can hear you great.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Miko and Ryan. I know that this is possible because of your effort and willing, and I'm very happy that this happened, even though it's not in person as we wanted. And well, my name is Maíra. I'm from Brazil, and I'm a public servant in Brazil. I work for the we call FUNAI, the National Foundation of Indigenous People, and I want to bring to you environmental challenges for indigenous peoples and biocultural restoration in Brazil in two parts. The first part, I'm going to bring a broader view of indigenous people in Brazil and challenges. And then the second part, I will talk more about the Xavante people that I work with for the last 15 years and some activities and works that we're trying to do together to face these environmental challenges. So, well, I'm a geographer. I like maps, so I will work a lot with maps. This is Brazil, and it's a big country. We're over 200 million people in Brazil. And what we see in red is the indigenous lands that we have in Brazil. In Brazil, indigenous land are recognized as a right before Brazil exists as a country. So the only thing the government should do is to demarcate these lands that are already a right for the indigenous people that live there, their homelands. But of course, that is in the constitution, but it doesn't happen. It's not so easy to put in practice. We have a lot of political conflicts, and so we have indigenous people all over Brazil, but most of the indigenous lands are in the Amazon region. There is this northwestern part in yellow that you see there, and people always think about Amazon region when think about indigenous people, but in Brazil we have in all different parts of Brazil we have indigenous people. From I said more than 200 million people in Brazil, 1.7 only are indigenous people. 1.7, a huge diversity of groups. We don't call tribes and nations. And I know in the United States you call like that. We usually refer to people, but that's just the way we talk there. 305 different indigenous people are reported, and diversity of languages to 274 languages spoken in Brazil, although we have an official language that is Portuguese from Europe. And well, I'm gonna pass to the other one. We see, I put like a mosaic of different indigenous people from Brazil, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about each of them, where are they and the challenges they're facing. And the first one, I think, is one of the most exciting, is about what we call indigenous people in voluntary isolation. That means there are some groups, we have records of 119 different groups that we say that they don't want to be part of our non-Indigenous society. They want to live a part of us. And in the past, there was a lot of history of trying to integrate further in a forced way, violent way. And nowadays, for the past 3 decades, I think, the government policies, if the people want to make contact and want to integrate with us, we're gonna open a path. Mm, Uh, as the government agency, my agency will try to make that to happen. But if they don't want to, we're gonna protect their lands and protect the way they're living so that they can live the way they want. And these two here that I bring in this photo is their Piripicura. There is a documentary that probably you can find in the YouTube in English about them. There are only two survivors of this group. So it's the group that is going to be extinct soon. It's like very tragic. And these people are the most vulnerable indigenous people that we have in Brazil. And our work is to protect their lands so they can live the way they want to. And these two, so this picture is a day that they went. Uh, they always go with this wood under uh, his arm that they carry fire. And they ran out of fire, so they went to a base, a protection base that they knew that exists, to get more fire. And then they went back to the forest because they don't want to be with us. They know that we're there. They know that there are people that are allies and people that are against them, but they don't want to be around us. So these are one side of indigenous people in Brazil and our challenges. The other extreme side, we have indigenous people living in large cities. So I show before that most of indigenous people live in cities, but we also have indigenous lands inside what you will say counties, we call municipalities. And these boys and girls here, they are Guaranimbia from São Paulo, the largest city of the Americas, with eight, 18 million people living there. There is indigenous land also there. And these boys live there. They speak their own language, Guarani, but they live in a big city. So we have these different realities from indigenous people in Brazil. And what they face there is that it's hard to have land. Land is very expensive in big cities and urbanized areas. So we see that the map of Brazil, we have large indigenous land in the Amazon region and small indigenous land in the rest of Brazil. And that's not because there are not indigenous people there or less people, indigenous people, but because it's harder to have land in this part of Brazil, and they're always struggling about that, about having their land. And well, when we think about threats, environmental threats, I think a lot of people think about mining and agriculture invading the indigenous territory, and we have that in Brazil too. These are Yanomami people from the far north of Brazil, and there is a region where they have a lot of gold mining and diamond mining. They're really affecting this population. We had a huge crisis 2 years ago where they were really in poverty and hunger, and we had to make a big force test to take the miners away, illegal mining. So it's not only deforestation and water contamination, but also violence and criminals that they have to face in these places. Agriculture also is another very important force of threat to indigenous people. Now I'm going to the south of Brazil, where we have the Caingan, but mining and agriculture is whole Brazil. I wrote there that agriculture is Brazilian main economy, and it's one of the largest exporters of soybeans and meat and beef and iron too. So that affects indigenous lands. We have a lot of land conflicts going there about these issues. And just to close this part of saying of all these threats that we can't close our eyes to them. Large enterprises such as dam projects, highways, power lines passing through indigenous lands, they are always struggling first to be listened, to have a prior consultation of the affected communities, something that the indigenous people are struggling and always asking for respect. Here in this picture, we have the Kayapós, that is a group from this part of Amazonian region, right in the center north of Brazil. And in the middle here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, this old man with the yellow, I don't know how to call that. He's called Raoni. He's a very important leader in Brazilian indigenous movement. And the indigenous movement in Brazil is a very important movement nowadays, social movement. And every year they get together in our capital, Brasilia, that is right here in the middle of Brazil. And thousands of indigenous people from all over the country go there to protest for their rights. And as you can see, there is a lot of things to protest and to argue about. One, and it's the largest protest that they do, but they are always getting together and doing mobilization. I think last year it was 6,000 people there, indigenous people getting together in Brasilia, and last month they were together again for another free land camp. That's the name that they call their mobilization. Is a week of activities that they do. And this mobilization forced in a way of the actual government, the current government, to create a Ministry of Indigenous People, and is headed by the leader Sonia Guajajara. There is this lady here, and she's from her people is Guajajara from the north part of Brazil too. And my agency, so the National Foundation of Indigenous People, is now under this ministry, and she's my boss. And well, we have a lot of challenges also in that field. We know the hardest thing is that indigenous people are never a priority for no government. I don't know, I couldn't say in any part of the world, but for sure not in Brazil. And that's very hard. And I will also remember that in northeast of Brazil, there is the first part of Brazil where the Portuguese came, so the most old colonization happened there, the oldest one. And we have indigenous people there working with agroecology and bringing what they are calling ancient agriculture, but bringing with new technologies and techniques such as other agroecology practices. but that's really hard too. So this Iran Shukuru, he's from that part of Brazil, northeast. And last but not least, this is the Shamanchi people, the people that I work with. They live in the Cerrado, and I'm going to bring another map of their lands. Now they are more than 20,000 people that live in more than 250 villages in 9 indigenous lands. And their contact with non-indigenous society is less than a century from now. So it's a recent but very violent, very um, I don't know how to say in English. uh, um, Dramatic change in their society this less than a century of context. Um, and I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to show a lot of pictures of them and the work that we're doing. So these are the Awenhuptabis, the way they call themselves, or we can say Chavantes, the way the Brazilian society call them. This circular dance that they make, dance and singing. And here is where I work. I live in Barra do Garças. There's this city right here. I don't know if you can see my coaster, but I work with these indigenous lands. The ones that are hatched are not from the Chamanchi people or other people, but I work only with Chamanchi people. And in the past, this was only one territory, large and without boundaries. And when they demarcated, it was all fragmented in smaller indigenous land. And between them, you have cities, you have farms, um, roads that make them isolated from each other, and the territory is not continuous. Here we have a little bit of their traditional ecological practices and knowledge. These the traditional corn and a corn crop right up there. Are you listening to me? Saying that my connection is unstable. And we have, you can listen? It's okay?
Yep.
And well, we have housing. They use a palm tree straw for housing, a woman weaving a basket made of a palm tree too. And here is a hunter hunting with fire, cultural burning. So for these indigenous people and for all the other ones I know, we can think about food and housing and utensils and ritual, everything as one whole. It's all connected as one. You can. It's very different from our society when you have an engineer that build houses and agronomies that will work on planting, and then industry that is going to make the plastic bags. And I will say that these basket that she's weaving is like their plastic bags. They have small and big, and they use it for everything that they need to carry on. So Shamanchi culture, everything is bound together one to the other and connected. And that's challenge when you are in the government, as I am, that our bureaucracy divides everything in sectors. So I work in the National Foundation of Indigenous People, in the Shamanchi Regional Coordination, and I work in the Service of Environmental and Territorial Management. and I need to work with three main goals: environmental management, territorial protection, and food sovereignty. But when you see how the Shavanti people live, education and health and food and environment and ritual, everything is together in one only whole. So it's a challenge also to work thinking all of these things together. And I will try to show a little bit of some small activities and work that we're trying to work thinking these together from their knowledge and from their way of living and working together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Burichi. Burichi is this palm tree that is very important for ecological process. Everybody who knows Burichi in Brazil will say, well, where you have Burichi, you have water. They are they are always in places where you have water, in springs and streams, and they are their stem is like sponge, really holds a lot of water in it. So people say where you have that, you have a healthy environment for wetlands and water. And the Shavanti people would use this tree for everything. So here there's a woman who is weaving a basket that is made of that palm tree from the leaves. And then you have here a ritual ceremony, log race that we call, that they are carrying a burichi log. It's really heavy, and it's a race of two groups that race one against the other. It's very important for the ritual. And the fruit, they eat these fruits from this palm tree. They use almost everything. The leaves also are used in the house. And also it's important, the water, of course, is important for every culture. All the Shavanti people, they make their villages next to a creek. And in this creek, we will always see kids playing, the women washing their clothes and the dishes, and getting water for their homes. And water is also important for rituals. Here is the ritual of passage to adulthood. The boys will get submerged to the water, so then their ear will be good to be pierced, as we see in this picture. It's a very important ritual for the young men. So water, Burichi, and Shavanti, they are all together and very important one to the other. But what we're seeing now is that this landscape looks more like this. You have one Burichi palm here and a very degraded area, and the water, this is a spring that we went there to see because it's getting less water every year. And then this is the river, the creek, that this man, who is the chief of his village, he told us that the water when he was younger would come on the top of his head. And now it's like really, really, it's less than 1 feet, 1 foot deep. So we were thinking how to bring water again, how to work food sovereignty, how to think in their territory, how to think in environmental health, and a little bit of that. activities and actions that we're trying to work together with the Chavanti people. So thinking in spring conservation, we have 3 principles. So to think in restoration of native vegetation using useful and adapted plants, such as Burichi, the one that I said, but other plants that they use are natives from that places. Here, this woman is planting the Burichi seedling in a very wet land. That is where Burichi likes to be. And so we are thinking water conservation with food sovereignty connected one to the other. And when we think of that, we have to think about the territory too. Because where are the parts where you have water and how do we want to conserve that water? And we're trying to work with principles of agroecology and agroforestry, but that must be thinking adapted to the way the Shamanti people work and plant their crops and their trees, right? Not the way agroforestry in universities think about that. So I have some pictures for you here. It was the same day that we planted that other burichi, a lot of burichis, but we also plant other plants. This is sweet potatoes that goes underneath other plants, but this is not planted in wetlands. It's more next to the villages where they plant other types of trees that are useful and adapted plants too. And here we have another planting. This was very interesting because this road here was open right on the top of a spring, a water spring, and this water spring was disappearing. And talking to them about that, we started to discuss what they could do to return that the water spring, and they decided to close this road. They had another road they could use, and they started to plant trees on the road. So these are the trees that they planted on this road here. So they will close this road and use another one, walk around. And with this work, we also are trying to workshops, nursery and agroforestry, making spaces of debate, such as forums and meetings, where you can discuss water policies and water rights, and they can discuss and mobilize how they want to think about their water management in a Shavanti way. And we're also supporting their participation in river basin committees. There's official committee to think the watersheds, and so to bring the indigenous participation in these spaces. And also they're always having meeting with public prosecutors to discuss their rights. And so I'm gonna bring some photos. This is a workshop on planting trees, and another workshop
Maida,
on
Maida, can you hear me?
Yes.
Maida, this is Miku. Okay, Ryan and I are trying to understand the spelling Can you type into the chat how to spell the tree that we were talking about earlier? Okay. And just for clarification, you're saying this is...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you were saying it's invasive tree? That's why it's drinking up so much water, or no?
Sorry?
You were saying that it's an invasive tree, is that correct? Or you were saying that this was a native tree species?
Oh, it's native. Yeah.
It is native tree.
This tree is a native tree that they use for
baskets and everything.
Oh, okay, I guess. Oh, thank you. Okay.
They use for everything, for eating, for ritual, and for weaving their this
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I know that my
Sorry.
English is not the best.
Sorry, one of my students wanted to know how
Okay.
to spell. You called it like burichi. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's hard to. Can you type it in the
Yeah, that's
Mahalo?
yeah, I don't know how to I'm gonna stop sharing because I don't know how to write in the chat. Oh, here, yeah. I think I got it. No. Oh no. No. Well, I'm gonna stop sharing. But I finished anyways my presentation. Here is my contact. I put my contact from my institution in Brazil, but and let me stop sharing because I don't know how to write. Okay, sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat because I couldn't see. So it's the palm tree. And this is the
Oh, thank
scientific
you. Thank
name.
you.
Okay. No, the water.
Mauritia
Oh, I
Flexuola.
was
Nice.
Flex was yes, and yeah. So the no the this tree is very important for ecological um um how do you say like balance in the water springs. So it's very important to have these three there. And what we're what we're seeing is that there are less of these trees. That's why we're planting it with them. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
Maya,
sorry. If you
thank
have
you.
any doubts, you can ask.
We're gonna ask you lots of questions now. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Those were really awesome pictures, first of all.
You look there.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're over here.
Yeah.
Mahalo, Myra. That was an awesome presentation. We really appreciate that. So we have plenty time left. So we want to open it up for any questions, whether you're online or in person. And anybody have any questions? Thank you so much.
Maria. Here you go.
Yeah, we got to pass the mic.
Maria, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
In class, I learned about Sweden, the practice of slashing and burning. Is that not a practice in Brazil, or is it?
Sorry, can you repeat that? It's about the cultural burning, right?
Yes,
Or not cultural.
not cultural, agricultural burning.
What's the question?
Well, in Southeast Asia, they call it Swidden. I believe it's more slash and burn type. Wondering if that's a traditional, like cut down the forest, grow the crops, let it regrow.
Could you hear that? So
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
it's called some in some places it's called Swidden practices, but just the not cultural burning, but more industrial type. Well, I'm not sure if call it industrial, more extractive burning, where you basically burn the forest down so that you can have nutrients for agriculture practices. Is that an issue that's happening there?
Oh, I couldn't listen everything.
Where people are
But I
cutting
listen. I'm gonna talk a little bit.
where people are cutting down the forest and then so that they can burn it and then use plant crops instead.
Are you asking about indigenous
Yeah.
practice?
So it's yeah, I can talk a little bit and then you can say if I'm right or wrong in my answer here, or if you want another approach. But fire is is something very interesting when we're talking about indigenous people because our society we would say, oh, you can't put any fire. Fire is bad for forest. Fire is bad for where I live. So it's Cerrado, is a savanna type of environment, biome. And Cerrado is a biome that evolved with fire, and Xavante are very good on fire. They use fire for a lot of different things. So we have, the thing is, why do you want to use fire? If it's to the first stage, is a great tool. So in Brazil, there is a lot of fire for deforestation. But the fire that the Xavante people put is not for deforestation. They put fire to do what Nico was saying. You cut a part of the forest, but it's a small plot of forest, and then you burn it, and then you plant for 3 or 5 years, and then you abandon that area, and it will grow up again, and you plant another part. And that's a very traditional way of planting in Brazil, and I think in all America. All the indigenous group that I know, they do this practice. We call roça de toco. Toco, roça is crop, and toco is like that you need to cut the trees so that part that stays there. So it's a crop with a lot of parts of trees there. That's the name that they use there. But I don't know if it's that. And they use fire for hunting. It's a very important part of their rituals. And for a wedding, you need to do that type of hunting. For this ritual for passage for adulthood, you also do that hunting with fire. And it's a collective hunting where men will burn a very large area and get a lot of animals and make the ritual. It's part of their ritual to work with fire too. But yeah, there are a lot of environmentalists that say no, they need to stop to work with fire. They shouldn't use fire anymore because of the climate changes. And what they argue, and I'm with them, is that although they using fire all the time, their lands are the only fragments of natural landscape where we live, and all around, all the surrounding is deforested, and where you have indigenous land and these practices of cultural burning, you don't have deforestation as you see in the surroundings. So it's not their fire what is making deforestation in the first place. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you here? Yeah.
He says, good answer. We were saying that's a great question. Good answer. Yeah.
Does anyone else
Yeah.
have a question? Response there about indigenous fire and indigenous burning and differences between that and the massive fires that are going on related.
Oh, please use the microphone.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
don't we have a big one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a really great response, just comparing indigenous fire for indigenous reasons, as compared with these large fires that we're seeing where they're burning down large sections of the Amazon for large scale agriculture to take place. So definitely important to note the differences. And okay, does anyone else have any questions? I can bring the mic over to you.
As you talk about, hello, can you hear me? Okay, hello, hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
You're talking about the land being illegal exploitation, maybe like mining and agriculture. It caused deforestation, and I noticed that there is a Ministry of Indigenous People, but it is limited budget from the government. So, what is the is this Ministry of Indigenous People have a lot for protection on the lands of indigenous?
So your question is about what this ministry does?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah, so that's very new for us. It started in 2023. So it's a ministry that is in its third year, and it's still creating its structure and its team. And in fact, I'm saying that because we also make that question all the time. How does this ministry is going to work, and what is going to be their role? But one thing that they want is to be is like a ministry where you have most of the people there are indigenous, and they are working to have a voice. For example, in these we call COP30 that is going to happen now. I don't know how you call that, COP or COP, I don't know. The UN,
Oh,
so it's
911.
a voice, yeah, where you can where they can try to negotiate directly with other countries as government, indigenous people going to negotiate with other countries as part of the government to bring perhaps money to make sustainable projects in the indigenous lands, or to discuss what are the indigenous understanding on national to go. It's still very new for all of us, even for the indigenous people, to understand what is the role of this ministry. But we're all trying to work together to make.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your question. So still trying to figure it out. Sounds like they want to be part of these larger climate change conferences that are going on, which a lot of these conferences focus on land cover change and deforestation, and it's the indigenous land that has a big part of that. So yeah, great question. We have an online question as well. So would you mind?
I was just going to read it. It's Kai's question. So he's, for those in our audience here can't see that. So it says, what is one of your favorite words in the language of the tribe that you learned? Oh, and it looks like her call just dropped. So let me add her back on here. Okay, there she's back. Here we go. Welcome back. I was just sharing the question from Kai that he'd put in the chat, which is a question about what is your favorite word from an indigenous language from any of the groups that you have worked with?
Okay, yeah, I read that question. That's funny. I don't know. Actually, I worked for 15 years with these people, and I'm not fluent in their language. That's a shame for me. They all speak Portuguese, so it's very easy, and I'm kind of lazy. I didn't learn, but a lot of words. But I really like a word that means, well, an expression that is anesi, that means, so that's it. So when they are making a speech, they're very good in their speech. They are very good speakers, and after a speech, when they are when they end their speech, they will say "anesi." I'm gonna write that in the chat so you can start to use it too. When you finish your presentation, you will say "anesi." I'm done. I'm finished. That was I had to say. That was it. Yeah. But we have a lot of nice words.
I had a question. Do we have time? Okay. I was actually super curious about the game with the logs and the traditional competition. The one I saw the picture of the groups carrying the large logs. Did they for example here there's one where you slide down a hill, right, on a wooden sled. Is
Yeah.
that I'm super curious about the competition. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's not a competition that only the Shamanchi people do. There are some other indigenous people. I showed a picture of the Kayapo. They also do this kind of race, and other uh, groups also does in central Brazil. And it's like, wow, it's always like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is when the sun is really hot. They will run for 5 kilometers. That's, I don't know, 3.5 miles or more in the dirt. And well, we can talk a lot about their culture. They have age groups, and these competition. Oh, it's really. I'm seeing that I'm losing you again. I'm gonna change to get closer to the modem so you can hear me better. Let's see if it's better here. So, this different group of it's a race. I don't know how do you say in English when you pass, like when you run with a stick and you pass the stick to another person and run and pass the stick,
A
but
relay
instead
a
of
relay
passing the
race.
stick, you pass. Yes, so you pass. It's a relay race of a big log that
Whoa.
has 100 kilos. I don't know how much is that
Oh
in
my
pounds.
gosh.
It's a lot. It's a
Wow.
lot.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's really fast. I try to run with them without the log, and you get so tired of just running to trying to keep with them in this race, and they really it's part of their culture. The resistance and the strength is very important for them. So most of their rituals and ceremonies are related to that of resistance. So, the sun very high and you will drink less water so you can like get stronger, and yeah, really impressive.
Thank you. That was really interesting to hear about. And yeah, I'm sure they're in amazing physical shape as well. So that's really cool to hear. Are there any other questions? Anybody?
Yeah,
Well, think
I
about it.
saw
If you do,
here
I
Kai
maybe have
has,
one question if you don't mind.
yeah, and I saw that K, I don't know, wrote if Guaraná grows in this area, and no, Guaraná is from the Amazon region, is another part of Brazil. We don't have there, unfortunately, because I really like it. Yeah, but you can ask too. If you want.
I was wondering about, well, I guess there were a few things that struck me. Those images were amazing and really kind of had me thinking about the situation. One of the images that was striking was the Brazilian flag covered in blood. Is that what that was with the protests? And it kind of had me thinking about also, I guess this is a little bit unrelated, but you mentioned how it was a decision of the groups whether they wanted to be contacted from the outside or They wanted to remain isolated. And what goes into those types of decisions within the group? I mean, there must be some controversy in that decision, whether they join, Western society or whether they stay within their groups. Is that driving conflict within these Indigenous groups? Or is the decision like left to the leaders and everyone goes along with that? Does
Well,
that make sense?
uh, I, there was a part I couldn't listen very well, but what I got, in fact, this policy of non-contact, it's very recent, and like most of the people, the Shavanti people, and a lot of other people were contacted before that, and it was a very violent way of contact. And even that time, it was also uh, when you talk to a Shavanti people, a person, and I did my master research with them about, I got a little bit about their history of migration, and they will say, we decided when we wanted to make this contact, when we wanted to get closer to them. If Brazil history will say that, oh, we contact them, we pacified them, but they will say, we contact the white people and we pacified them. They were these crazy, violent people that were destroying everything, and we decided to contact them and trying to make them more Pacific people with uh, white people surrounding us. And so it's not so easy. Sometimes the last time a group decided to to get in continuous contact with our society was about 10 years ago. They appeared in, it was like kind of amazing. They appeared in a village, indigenous village in north of Brazil, and the village, it was another people, and they were kind of scared because they knew that these people were isolated and they could like kill them. They were afraid of them. But uh, what what we understood is that they wanted to make contact because they were being pushed from miners and invaders. So they wanted to have help. They wanted to have a place where they could be safer. And I think, I don't know, I don't work with this part, but I tend to understand that they will think, well, if we don't do that, we're gonna die. So we need to have contact with these people and try to get closer to them, because the way we're living now is too dangerous, because the miners are coming closer and the invaders are coming closer. And yeah, I think that's um, that's a very tough decision for them. I can imagine they discussing that, and it's a life or death decision.
Thank you. That was helpful. Um, any other questions? We have a few minutes left here before we're gonna break. Was there anything else in the online part there, or?
Have questions. I always have questions. Maida, for the groups that you work with, and I really appreciated your last comment or your last share for us. Is there like a specific message that they're wanting to be shared out? Something
Well,
that, yeah.
when I interviewed three elders from that they were born before the contact with non-Indigenous society, and we interviewed them and asked how was life in the past, how is life now, how do they see life in the future, and they were very serious about our commitment with them, and that everything we were doing was in a way to help them to show the way they are living to other white people, they would say, to make people uh, uh, feel connected to them and help them in a way, even not directly, but he was very concerned, like, oh, you're interviewing me, but I won't talk to you if this is not going to help me in a way, right? I'm not here just to throw my words away. I want a commitment that you're going to use this as a way to help my people, as a way to show the way we're living and what we're suffering. And while the others are very dramatic, because I think they saw all the changes in their lives since they were kids, and they think about their grandsons, how is it going to be their future? So they are always saying, "Oh, we're in sorrow. Uh, we we need you to not like not like we need they need me. They don't need me at all. But if I'm going there, they want help to show the way they're living and make people feel connected to them. Yeah, and yeah, there are a lot of things to help, but I would say mostly they would like help with money because that's what makes some things happen, right? Not that that's the only way, but even these free land camps that I show the pictures, they are always getting funds because they're bringing indigenous people from all over Brazil, and you see the pictures are very far away and very difficult access. So just to get these people to get to Brasilia is like a lot of logistics and money to bring all together. So that's something they're always asking.
Well, I think you're doing a really good job, at least as far as this presentation, of sharing their perspective and helping us understand the challenges. So, mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. And it was very, very good. I'm really happy being able to talk to you all. I know that you are so far away from here, and I'm very interested in learning more also about Hawaii. I know that there is a lot of struggle with the indigenous people there and a history of violence too. So I know all the indigenous people and the people that work with indigenous people are connected in this solidarity, in this um, uh, understanding of history of violence and exploitation that we need to be able to discuss and overcome.
Well, thank you so much. I think it's time for us to wind down the seminar for today. So, can we give Myra another round of applause? Okay, well, we'll catch up soon, and your invitation is still on the table to come here, and we'll find another time for you to do that. Maybe we'll try to visit you to learn more about, your work there.
Please.
And so I hope this collaboration can continue into the future, and we can make something more of this. So thanks so much for taking the time and putting together this awesome presentation with those great pictures to help us feel more connected with what's going on in Brazil, with the indigenous people, and what you do there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maida. So great to have you join. We did record it, and so we'll share it out for those. Maybe if you want to look at it, we'll send it back to you, and we'll keep in touch. And then your contact information is in the chat, I believe, for anyone online. And for anyone here, we can make sure that goes out to you if you guys want to follow up and talk story with her more and ask questions, because she's awesome. So thank you, Maida.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Gonna-
Bye online.
Bye.
Right here.
Okay, I think you can close it.